Institute of Chartered Tax Practitioners India is an exclusive platform for the care of all the enrolled tax practitioners in the nations. Is conducted just to say GST is moving towards a guaranteed and secured transaction, because tax practitioners are called as the fundamental and foundation stone of every business activity under the framework of ICTPI. So we are proud to call ourselves as angels of taxation. We are the propagators of taxation, especially in the compliance. So we conduct regular awareness, and this is the time, especially you all know, the Venugopal Gella sir will give you all the brief about this thing. When GST was introduced, it is an automated taxation only. So it is a technologically driven law. So now it has reached e-invoicing. So how that e-invoicing is going to help to evade all these evasions and strengthening the transaction in whatever the manner, Venugopal Gella sir will tell you. And we are very fortunate to have TPR Bhishma, our BT Manohar sir, and Jatin Christopher sir, and also Dr. B.V. Murali Krishna and Sri P.V. Bhattji to this session to throw more light on whatever the doubts you have. Because this has been, this awareness program has been conducted because Institute of Chartered Tax Practitioners India is supporting the tax compliance, and also it propagates to main coaching. So with this, now I request Sri Venugopal Gellaji to kindly throw light on e-invoicing.
Firstly, I should thank Institute of Chartered Tax Practitioners for taking a session on this for the members, and which is I will say, the need of the day. I should also thank Jatin sir for being there in the session, my guru, and definitely a good knowledge resource for the GST practitioners. And good to see Manohar sir, BT Manohar sir, and others. Let me start the session. Though this is a law which has been introduced 2 years back, and 1 year before even the introduction, the concept was, the paper was there live. But for some of you, it would be definitely new. You might be seeing it for the first time, and you will be going live. So I have thought that though the mandate given by the our Parthasarathy sir, that let us have more time for the panel discussion, I will make sure that some of the important slides I'll spend, rest of the slides I'll skip over, so that this is helpful whenever you have. And one request to the host, just being a technology thing, just in case if my voice is not audible or I'm lost, you can please feel free to interrupt. On this note, let us begin. First, we should understand the digital invoice versus e-invoice. There is a difference. You know, accounting is a metric. You know, it is like you make a sale, you just make an entry. For you, when you are recording, you are debiting the customer and crediting the income. But for a software perspective, if you look at a software has no emotions, nothing. Everything is a number. Whether you do a 1 crore, 1 lakh, or one thing, it stores the data in an organized way. Likewise, today, if you are seeing that hardly there are any people who are using a printed bill book and writing. Everyone are using some software. Having said that, are we in a digital world? Understanding that yes, we are generating the data or the transactions through a organized software. Could be Tally, SAP, Oracle, QuickBooks, Zoho, whatever be it. The only note you have to consider is they're all digitalized documents. The printout is coming in a PDF, a digital document. But the electronic version of it, the data that is stored back in the database, has its own nuances to it. So there is a difference between a digital invoice versus an electronic invoice. In India, there is no schema or a standard for any electronic invoice. If you go by GST law, Rule 46 gives you a list of information that has to exist on an invoice. Or you go to Weights and Measurement Act, which says that, okay, these are the contents I need to have in your book or when the Drug Control Act would say certain information. But is there any published data somewhere where which can tell that one invoice should have the following fields to have it electronically? GSTN has taken this one step ahead, and the concept of INV1 was already there in the draft law, and they have adopted and brought this concept of e-invoice. In fact, we've been increasing globally our ease of doing business. As Sharma sir rightly mentioned, the countries which have adopted the e-invoice, they have said that it is doing a huge amount of tax saving and the cost saving. As I said, the e-invoice is electronic invoice. So it is an attempt to standardize and define all the fields that are required for an invoice. Yeah. Let's go more in an understanding in a plain common man language. If you look at your plug point in India, we have say type D, but you go to a different country, you have different type of plug. Is there a way you can have a plug which adopts all? Answer is no. Currently, you can think this one is Tally, SAP, Oracle. So today, the data that is generated from one software to other software will not work. What is the best way to work? Remove the plug, cut the wire, put the wire directly, it will work. What does we are trying to say? If the raw power can go interact and eventually you want your laptop or mobile to get charged, that's the objective. So you're using a plug as a medium, but the data that is passing through is electronic data. So with adoption of e-invoice, the interoperability between one software to other software is going to be seamless. The bigger intent or the objective is to have a common platform. So an e-invoice that is generated from an application like a Tally or SAP or an Oracle, all will have a same language, same data, same content. The moment it is same, it can be exchanged and used. Today we are moving to a digital era. Hardly anyone do a data entry. If you have a bank statement, you press a button, the data gets accounted. You have a purchase invoice received, there is a scanning tools which gets scanned and converted into a transaction and gets posted. With the e-invoice coming in, the digitization goes up. And there are certain myths. The people think the e-invoice means you have to have a standard software, different computer, or you have to go to a central server at the GSTN portal, or I have to change the format in which my invoice which is there, or they have a confusion that every document which are now I am issuing should follow a different protocol. There are a lot of myths, but the objective is for the better taxpayer services, reduced tax evasion, and efficient tax administration. So with these notes on the preamble, let's move ahead on the e-invoice roadmap. It started in October 20 for 500 crores and above. The launch was 1st September, they deferred it 30 days. COVID period, everyone thought it will not go live, but it went live successfully. And in a very short span, we have reached from 500 crores to 10 crores and above. Notification 17/22 states that you have to go live, which issued on 1st August 22. Effective October, you will be going live for 10 crores and above. What does this 10 crores or the turnover means? It is a PAN-based turnover. So all the GST numbers turnover within the PAN, you have to consider. Second, in any of the preceding financial years. So if last 2 years your turnover was less than 10 crores, but prior to that it was more than 10 crores, even for you it would be e-invoices applicable. It is getting implemented between middle of the year. Does it disrupt my business? Will there be any implications? Absolutely no. It is an additional enhancement. We will see how does it happen. But before that, what is the genesis of it? Is this backed by the rules? Answer is yes. Notification 68/2019, that is the mother notification which brought the change to Rule 48. We all know Rule 46, the contents in the invoice, and Rule 48, the manner in which you have to issue, like original to the recipient, duplicate, transporter, triplicate, etc. In that, they have inserted Rule 48 sub Rule 4, saying that there is a concept called GST INV1, invoice 1. Wherever it is applicable, those people have to issue it in INV1. And they have also said, if you are issuing multiple invoices, you don't need to issue multiple invoices. But if e-invoice is applicable to you, and if you're not issuing e-invoice, then it is not going to be treated as a valid invoice. For that, they have said that they have notified 10 common portals, e-invoice1.gst.gov.in, currently which is operated by NIC. There are 5 more IRP, we call them. They are on getting onboarded, hopefully by October. So there will be 10 different common portals. And they said, these transactions we intend to cover only B2B transactions and not B2C. What should be the content of it? They have notified the schema 60/2020, of course, amended time to time. I will be covering briefly on the schema too. So what are the transactions that are covered under the e-invoice? I would like to spend a little more time in this slide. The documents which are covered for e-invoice. Now I am just changing the word from e-invoice. I may call it as e-document, because credit note and debit note is also applicable for e-invoice. So what you are seeing in the green color, e-invoice is applicable for these transactions. But the documents which are covered by bill of supply or a delivery challan, e-invoice is not applicable. We all know, whenever you are making a taxable supply, you issue a tax invoice. Whenever you are making an exempt supply, you will issue a bill of supply. And not just that, even if you are making a tax invoice to an unregistered person, e-invoice is not applicable. So not just the document, but the persons to whom those documents are issued. So e-invoice is applicable for a supply which is made to B2B or a B2G, the government, who is having a TDS number, or in case of export. It is not applicable if it is a supply made to a B2C, or you are doing a self-tax invoice or import of goods. Even if you are making a bill of supply to a B2B, if you are making an exempt supply to a registered person, e-invoice is not applicable. Now, if it is appearing little confusing and complicated to you, let's look at a simple analogy. Look at your GSTR1. Wherever you are doing a line-wise reporting in your GSTR1, except the table for B2C large, all these transactions you need to do e-invoice. Wherever you do a bulk reporting, which is B2C, table 7, or exempt supply, table 8, these 2 tables, you don't need to do e-invoice. So now the intent is, once with the e-invoice, your data is automatically uploaded to the GSTR1. Hope this is clear, because this slide is very important. And if you have any doubts, feel free to put your questions in the question box. We will take it appropriately. All right. Okay. Having understood what are all the documents that are covered under e-invoice, let us look at the persons that are covered. We all know 10 crores and above, you are covered for the e-invoice. But another thing you should be very mindful of is the following list of businesses entities are exempted from e-invoice. One is special economic zone. The next set of category is people who have already been exempted from issuing a regular tax invoice under 46 by virtue of Rule 54, sub Rule 2, 3, 4, and later 4A inserted, which is an NBFC or an insurance company, a goods transport agency or a passenger transportation, admission to a cinematographic films. So the exemption is qua business. So if your business is this, you are exempted. If I do a multiple businesses and the portion of it is this portion of business, you have a choice not doing e-invoice. The condition is, wherever the e-invoice is not applicable, you have to print it on the invoice saying that e-invoice is not applicable to you, owing to they have given a standard content. But leaving this category of the people, everyone are required to issue e-invoice if your turnover is exceeding 10 crores starting from this October. And as Sridhar Parthasarathy sir said, very likely it may be from 5 crores and above. So eventually, everyone are envisaged to be part of the e-invoice network. There are three important websites one should be aware of. One is e-invoice API sandbox. This API sandbox, e-invoice sandbox, is meant for this, we call it as a test bed. If you have to do an e-invoice and you want to do integration and everything, you will be doing a data in the sandbox. There was a trial portal. Now everything has been moved to sandbox. You can integrate yourself and do a testing. I'll also, after the panel discussion, I will be doing a demonstration of how to create an account and how do you do a data entry, everything. But what is very important is the live portal, which is e-invoice1.gst.gov.in as of now. You got to make sure your e-invoices are generated only in this system only. Apart from that, there are a lot of other tools that have been given. You can see list of the people who are currently generating e-invoice. You can check whether e-invoice has been enabled to you or not. There are free Excel utilities to generate e-invoice in bulk. If someone is issuing you an e-invoice, a printed e-invoice with a QR code, there is a mobile app that has been given. When you open the mobile app and scan it, it will say that it is valid invoice and it will give you some content of it. If you are scanning it through an app other than the mobile app, you will see a junk characters. I'll show you. And lastly, they have also given, you can copy a signed invoice into a portion of the portal. You will see whether it is a verified valid invoice or not. All these tools have been made enabled to us. On a broader view, what does e-invoice happens? This is the picture which the GSTN has published long time back, where they said the sellers will integrate with the registrar. Registrar will connect to the GSTN system and the data comes back. Yeah, I have put it into a different pictorial form. Let me just show it to you. Basically, you as a supplier, where if e-invoice is mandatory to you, you will use an application where the invoice is connected and posted to registrar, different registrar. We have 10 registrars. What does this registrar do? Registrar connect this data to e-waybill system. If you want an e-waybill, there is a facility of moving the document to the recipients. It will also update into GSTR1. In fact, the bankers are also been brought into the system to give invoice-based financing. ERPs have been enabled to do a transaction posting, where using an API, the accounting happens into books of accounts automatically. So there is, this appears that, okay, there is a lot of tech we are talking in a GST subject. My answer to it is yes. It is complicated and cumbersome at the way it appears to be. It is painful to do an integration one-time activity. But once it is done, life is simple and great. Once you are into e-invoice, your data to GSTR1 is done automatically. You don't need to do a separate upload to GSTR1 later. Recipients are always worried about my credit. Is the supplier going to file or not? Earlier, we are very particular about GSTR 2A. Now the focus shifted from 2A to 2B. But on a near real-time basis, with the e-invoice, you can see an entry in 2A. At least you are reasonably certain that the credit is likely to come and the party is genuine. So your ability to trust other business person is going to go up in a better way. So there are a lot of positive aspects along with that initial hiccups that are likely to come. But if you can overcome that, the positive side, I would say it is much higher. That is my experience in e-invoice implementation. There are certain technical terms one should be aware of. First and foremost, IRN. So the e-invoice is an eventual evil, I will say, given that you have to be understanding about e-invoice, doing e-invoice. What are the things you should be understanding? First is IRN, invoice reference number. It is a combination of four information: GST number, financial year, document type, and document number. A combination of these four, what you are seeing on the screen, a 64-digit alphanumeric number that gets generated. Please note, this is only for computers and not human beings. Why? Our 13-digit bank account number only we will not remember. So 64-digit for each transaction, we don't need to expect it to be remembered. Then you may ask, if something is not rememberable, not required, even not required to be printed on the invoice, why do we need it? This is a unique document information that makes your document unique. So irrespective of the number of volume of transactions, your document is going to become unique, because the invoices that are generated are crores. That is what the initially Sharma sir was mentioning. So many crores of the invoices are getting generated. And this IRN makes your document unique. Second important thing you should know is IRP. IRP is the invoice registration portal. He is the key person who is going to play a pivotal role in the e-invoice. You as a taxpayer, you will be connecting your data to IRP. You are uploading a JSON invoice. There are multiple modes, but you are connecting it through a JSON. The IRP, first thing he does is whether he confirms whether it is a new invoice or not. He is going to do a verification check. We call it as deduplicacy check. Once it is done, you are cleared, he confirms it is a new invoice. Then he will give you a digitally signed QR code. If you want an e-waybill, he will go to an e-waybill portal and give you an e-waybill along with the e-invoice. I'll show you that during the live session. He also connects to the GST common portal and updates your GST R1. So in whole of the e-invoice, IRP is the key person who is going to do all this job of e-invoice for us. First IRP is NIC, and there are other IRPs that have been proposed. Please note, IRP verifies the invoice and acknowledges it. He is not confirming that the tax rate is correct. He is not confirming HSN is incorrect. He is also not a party to it saying that, okay, yes, this is a valid invoice, the buyer has to pay, nothing of that. And he is going to retain the invoice only for 24 hours. What will be there with him is list of invoices which he has generated. He is not going to do any mailing services or data storage services. So I want you to know that what changes your life after e-invoice coming in a normal way, after the business is done, you're submitting an invoice to your customer. With the e-invoice coming in, you are going to send the invoice to the IRP, get an acknowledgement, chap on it and get it back, and you are serving it back to your customer. Now you may say that, okay, you have put a hindrance in my current business process. Friends, live again, we will see the data going to IRP and coming back happens in a fraction of seconds. You know, like at a blink of an eye. That's the time it takes to process an invoice, because IRP is not validating whether you have used correct HSN, correct rate of tax, whether the amount is correct, is computer billed for 1 crore or 1 lakh, nothing of it. He is only putting an acknowledgement saying that, yes, I received one document. Yes, it is a valid tax invoice. Okay, you take it back. That's all he's going to do. Hence, it is not a time-taking process. What does he send you back? He is going to send you back, if it is success, the response, he will give you an acknowledgement number, acknowledgement date, and IRN, which is SHA-256 64-bit. Then more importantly, there is a signed invoice and signed QR code. And the status of it, if it is active, it is ACT, you are cancelling, he will put it as cancel CNL. If there are some errors, he will give you an error code and an additional message. If something that can be conveyed, that would be passed on. This is the response that you get back. Now, if it sounds too technical, don't worry, we will decode it in our demo session. This is how an invoice, the response would look like in a JSON structure. The signed invoice and signed QR code. If you have to open it at notepad and see, it would be visible something like that. So you can see all this, it appears to be like a junk. It is actually a junk. So you can now understand that this is not a document for humans, it is for machine. But if you decode, you can automatically see the acknowledgement number, all those information that would be there, which is there on the right side. If you decode, that information would be visible. The last thing you need to, the technical term one needs to know is QR code. QR code is what is required to be affixed in the invoice. So rule 46 has been amended. Now it is mandatory where e-invoice is applicable. You have to put a QR code. What does the QR code contains? QR code contains a high level information about the business of that invoice. Like imagine if a CEO of a company is looking at an invoice, he'll quickly see who is the seller, who is the buyer, and what is the amount. Same like that. It doesn't get into nitty-gritties of the invoice. QR code will capture a key information: seller name, buyer name, invoice number, when is the invoice generated, invoice date, invoice value. If there are 100 lines items, it will only say 100 line items, right? So it is only giving you a high level information of a document. It is mandatory that you print the QR code. Since the QR code has the IRN in it, so there is no mandatory to again print IRN separately. IRN, acknowledgement number, acknowledgement date, they're optional. There are users who says, no, it has to get printed. Well and good. If you're giving additional information, no harm, nothing wrong. This is how the QR code will actually look like. This is a real QR code. So when you scan it using not the mobile phone, you have a camera in the mobile phone. If you use the QR code, the camera and scan it, you will see that junk, EPQH, whatever, all those things. But if you scan this using the tool given by the IRP, the portal, you will be able to see the data which is there on the left side of it. So that is the information that is going to be given. And this is like a live data. So some of the FAQs that people have. So I thought let us take the questions. In fact, if you have any questions after this FAQ section, we can take those questions also. Firstly, people ask, is there a time limit to generate an e-invoice for any particular transaction? After generating, how do I print it or send it? Should it contain all the IRN QR code? Should I digitally sign the invoice or physically sign the invoice again? Do I need to save any additional information in my ERP? Or if I cancel it because of the technical reasons, what to do? These are all the questions that come up. Apart from that, there are questions that come up on the e-waybill. So let us answer all those questions one by one. First and foremost, e-waybill is not like a takeaway or swap with the e-invoice. E-invoice is governed by Rule 48. E-waybill is governed by Rule 138. You need to continue to do e-waybill even though e-invoice is applicable. So if your transaction value is exceeding 50,000, you will continue to generate Part A and Part B of the e-waybill. What is the relaxation that have been given is if e-waybill is generated and e-invoice is generated on the QR code, which is printed on the invoice, that is sufficient. You don't need to print the e-waybill again, because the officer who is intercepting the vehicle, when he scans the QR code, he would also be able to decode the details of the e-waybill generated towards it. So the relaxation that is there is you don't need to carry the e-waybill. The digital scanning, the digital carrying of the document is sufficient. Next, should I generate the e-waybill and e-invoice together? Choice is yours. E-waybill can be generated simultaneously along with the IRN, or e-waybill can be generated later as well. IRP supports e-waybill only for one invoice. So you have to link the invoice and the e-waybill. You may ask, I am sending the goods in multiple consignments. How do I send it? There is no change in the law. Even the erstwhile scenario, you have a CKD, SKD movement, or you will have the movements, multiple consignments split. how you are sending the delivery challan for the first consignment lot and the last one with the original invoice and the thing, it continues the same system. If you have to cancel your e-invoice, you should only remember, since e-way bill is generated, you have to cancel the e-way bill first and then the e-invoice. Next, how to print the e-invoice. Friends, I have said the QR code that you are obtaining back from the IRP, that needs to be affixed on the invoice. So your regular invoice will contain QR code additionally. Other than that, there is no change in the process. So during the transit, you don't need to carry the invoice, e-way bill. The QR code digital display is sufficient. Can I also send the invoice in the PDF with the QR code? Even that is permitted. The digital display of the QR code is sufficient. Now, how do I send the invoice to the recipient? See, IRP is not going to send the document to the recipient. If you have seen the chart, IRP is going to send the information back to the person who has generated the invoice. You have to mail your JSON, PDF, everything that you have to do. However, GSTN is building a system where the mechanism of buyer-seller communication exchange can happen. Earlier, like Yahoo types, like you type it, search it at something, you will be able to see list of content or information. A model is getting built by the GSTN, but a little longer process. As of now, you will have to send the documents to your customers. IRP is not going to do anything. The response that comes from IRP, what should I do? It has to be printed on the invoice. So somewhere in your database, you have to store it. So if you're using a standard ERP does this process for you automatically. On the invoice, you can print acknowledgement number, acknowledgement date, the QR code, but the QR code is mandatory, rest are all optional. The information that needs to be stored, I would suggest all the information to be stored, even though not mandatory to be printed on the invoice, please store all the information. Till what time I can register an e-invoice? As of now, there is no mechanism that will say that you cannot register an invoice on the same day or a previous day. Standing today in the month of August 2022, I can raise, let's say my turnover was 50 crores and above. I forgot to generate an e-invoice. Now you opt for an e-invoice, generate an e-invoice for all the past transactions, no issues. IRP portal will receive them, acknowledge it as today's date. Invoice date will be 1st April 22. Acknowledgement date would be 25th August 22. So you can have a backdated transactions registered on IRP portal. Registering on IRP portal doesn't mean that you are compliant with the law. You have only done the e-invoice to it. It also doesn't mean that you are not duplicating the turnover. Already I have declared in GSTR1, will it go again? No. So the data traveling to the GSTR1, be careful. If you have filed your GSTR1 or due date of filing of GSTR1 is complete, if either of these two are completed, the data from IRP portal gets reflected in GSTR1. So on, let's say on 5th September 22, if I have generated an e-invoice dated 31st August 22, even that record will get reported into GSTR1 of August, because August I have not filed it. If I have filed August, it doesn't get reported into. 2 days is what you should keep as the buffer time. Generally now it is happening near time after validation, but you keep 9th September as the cutoff. That doesn't mean that all the invoices during the month go to the month and press a button and do e-invoice. That is not the expected behavior. Today technology, like as I said in the beginning, my voice might get disconnected, or the internet go off. At your side, power may go off, or you find people going to the remote villages and doing the business. Today, door delivery that happens. So there are various things that happen, and I might not be available to, system is not available to do invoice, could be anything. So to ensure that the e-invoice is compliant, you can also do an invoice little after the unforeseen, like for some reason curfew happened, internet is shut, whatever be the situations. So the system permits you the backdated invoice. Next thing is, can it be cancelled? Yes, you can cancel the e-invoice. But as I said, IRP is going to hold the data only for 24 hours. So you have to cancel it within 24 hours. After that, you cannot cancel. Can I amend it? Not even inch, not even dot, full stop. There is no concept of amending an invoice in the GST. You may talk about table 9 amendment. The table 9 amendment is permitted to correct your data entry errors. In the act, there is no concept of amending an invoice. So you can max do is cancel an invoice if you have not made a supply. You may ask that, okay, I have forgotten to cancel the invoice within 24 hours. What do I do? I haven't even made a supply. There was a system glitch. I was typing in my keyboard and by mistake I have pressed the save button and the invoice got generated. What do I do? I realized this mistake after 24 hours. That's what happens. At the time of filing my R1 or the internal audit, found this mistake. Time to cancel got lapsed. Did you make a supply? No. Please cancel the invoice in your R1. You have anyhow cancelled it in your books of accounts. So do not report in your GST returns. You may ask, there will be a difference between my e-invoice data and R1 data. Of course, there will be a difference. Have sufficient explanation document to validate it. What are the technical details to see are you a go live compatible? Is you have to see, can your system prepare an e-invoice as per the schema? After it being prepared, do you have a software which can integrate with IRP? That means it will handle encryption, decryption, everything. If you want to build your own thing, you need to have an additional requirement called certification. Handling the sending the invoice, receiving the invoice from the suppliers, all those mechanisms, you got to do it. Should I digitally sign it, physically sign it? Answer is yes. So the document received from NIC doesn't say that it is digitally sent. NIC is saying that yes, I have received, I'm putting an acknowledgement and sending. If you are sending it to your customers, you got to sign it either physically or digitally. What you are doing in erstwhile regime, you will continue to do that. So moving to the last part of it, another 5 minutes, we'll wrap it up. There is something called schema. So there are a lot of contents in the e-invoice schema, the structure, though not applicable for any of us. This is the system related. So what system does? But given that we are the tax professionals, we definitely need to have an idea of it. Imagine a physical invoice. So invoice has various sections. Like that, your schema is divided into various sections and it describes. So these sections, so totally you have 16 sections, some 5 sections mandatory and 11 optional sections, totally 133 fields. And there is something called cardinality. So which will talks about if 1 is there, it is mandatory, 0 is there, is optional. If it is written as n, the number of lines it can recur. Totally 133 fields are there. So the schema is designed to accommodate. Someone is selling idli dosa in using a small POS system to someone like an L&T is doing a turnkey project where the lot of items that are getting assembled and do. The schema is like an elastic which can accommodate all goods, services, projects, everything has been is been able to accommodate. So very beautifully drafted schema. So these are the sections which what I was saying, what you are seeing in the red color, there are various sections in an invoice which are mandatory. Apart from that, you may have like dispatch address, shipping address, reference address, export details, payment details, which are optional details. So I was mentioning that cardinality has 1 RN. If you see the line items, you will have multiple line items. So that is represented like N. So in one invoice, you can accommodate like 1,000 line items. You may ask, if I have more than 1,000, you can approach the NIC. NIC has a solution to it. Once the invoice is generated, like just a sample, you can put your QR code anywhere on the invoice. Not necessary, it should be on the left corner, middle somewhere. Anywhere on the invoice, you can put your QR code. How do I generate an e-invoice? There are multiple modes. There are offline tools, Excel tools that have been given where you can generate a JSON and upload. Then there is a Japan, generation and printing of an invoice. Then the ERPs, like a standard ERPs like SAP, Tally, they have directly integration. You do a data entry, it will automatically go. You may say that, look, I'm using my own software. You can use an ASP who will give you a multiple modes, either a secured folder, Excel, ODBC connection. Multiple modes of the offerings are also permitted by ASP. So reaching the data to the GSTN, there is not just one method, multiple methods are there. What you and I should be knowing, Excel was there. Now Japan is the new thing which has come. NIC has built a web application. In fact, this can be used in the mobile also. It's a simple user entry form which is designed to do a data entry of the invoice. So I have a software which is not compatible. No worries. Go to Japan. You can prepare the data, and if you are not connected to the system, save it. The moment you are online, it will go and connect. The system is built such a way that the basic validations which are required, like the HSN, correct HSN number, correct rate of tax, all those things have been taken. And just on a click of a button, the IRN gets generated. You can print the invoice with the QR code, and within 24 hours, the cancellation facility is also there in the Japan. The login credentials, whatever is the credentials in the e-invoice one is the same login credentials that work with the Japan. So friends, these are the various things I wanted to cover on the e-invoice. Now we will move to the panel looking at various questions that you have and how to resolve them. And once we are done, I will walk you through how to do an e-invoice from TallyPrime, the post-panel discussion, and also how to create an account in the sandbox, how to use all those things. A live demo I'll be demonstrating. So, Sridhar sir.
Sir, namaste. Sir, let us welcome Dr. Murali Krishna sir and PV Bhatt sir to the session, please. Sir. Sharma sir.
Yes, sir. Sir, Dr. Murali Krishna is the Additional Commissioner of Commercial Taxes at the Commercial Tax Department, Government of Karnataka. As the JCCT e-audit is involved in the establishment of electronic platform for an audit under the VAT and GST also. Prior to this, he was also Deputy Commissioner of Commercial Taxes, worked as the detection of the fraud and evasion in departmental activities like e-governance, capacity building of the personnel, audit of the MNCs and HNIs. Prior to this, he is an SCCT. He has worked as the officer in Enforcement and Audit Division. He has taken the same capacity building sessions to in-service officers on works contract and lease tax. His interest including assessing.
Discussion Marana.
Hi, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Sharma.
Thank you. Heartily welcome, sir. Welcome. But Murali Krishna also known in the good name, known figure in CBIC New Delhi also, in the throughout Karnataka, and all our pan-India members is proud to have the panelists like Dr. B.V. Murali Krishna. We have another guest, P.V. Bhatt, is a scientist grade G, is a Deputy Director General and State Informatics Office, National NIC, Bangalore. He is the instrumental in implementation of various technological projects of the Government of Karnataka. I heartily welcome you, sir.
Thank you, Sharma ji.
Yes, sir.
Sharma,
Yes,
Sharma,
sir.
I'll make a small brief introduction about Mr. P. Bhatt because many of the panelists and the taxpayers or the council will not be knowing. Today,
Sir,
what you people are discussing and thinking about this particular e-invoicing concept, it is nothing but it is being rolled out by Mr. P.V. Bhatt, SIV Karnataka and DDG. And it is not only this particular project, even e-way bill, and they are associated with the NAC, particularly Karnataka Commercial Tax from 2005 onwards. All e-initiatives, whatever it is, all credit should go to him. And whatever the e-governance level, what we are today, we vote to NAC Karnataka at large. So that's his strength, and he is with such a small, with humility and humble. Many people may not be knowing is let everyone should know that he is the architect of the e-invoice and e-billing. So over to the organizers.
Yes,
What are the
sir.
chappale jora
Thank-
badibeku? Keliside idru parvayilla.
Thank you, Murali Krishna. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Over to Sridhar Parsarthi.
Sir, shall we have any small discussion and can take the question and answers, or shall we go straight away to the Q&A, sir?
Then let them go to the Q&A better.
Okay, sir. The first question what we have received is from Mr. Ashwin Thakkar. He has raised many questions. If seller liable to generate e-invoice but not generated, can ITC in hand of buyer can be denied? No reference in Rule 48.4 for claiming ITC in Rule 16.2. Sir.
See, I think the Gella and both the Jatin Christopher both are there. They're in and out. They have spoken about what is law and all that. See, when the e-invoice replaces the manual invoice, so what else is required then? See, if the people who are, see, I don't want to get into the rule and act and all. See, basically, as 48.4, whatever the regulations you say, the e-invoice replaces the manual invoice. If you don't have that e-invoice in hand as a recipient, how you can get a input tax credit? You will not get an input tax credit. That's what I mean, my opinion. What, Christopher?
Correct, sir. Correct, sir. Absolutely. It's as good as invoice not existing.
Hashtag. So
Sir,
please,
then,
for all the stakeholders, please understand, and particularly for the vendors, the recipients, and see to that the suppliers, they are enabled for e-invoicing to register on the portal. If they are not issuing the e-invoices, the recipients, they are not going to get any credit at all. Remember this.
Sir, the next question is whether e-invoice is required in case of reverse charge mechanism. Sir.
E-invoice is
Gella.
not applicable for any reverse charge inward supplies, but e-invoice is applicable for a reverse charge outward supply. So self-tax invoice, e-invoice is not applicable. But let's say I'm an advocate, I have other businesses also, and I'm issuing I'm liable for doing an invoices. For doing an outward supplies, e-invoice is applicable because in my GSTR1 table 4, I also have to report the outward supply and mark that as a reverse charge applicable. So a thumb rule to know all the line items reporting in my GSTR1, whether forward charge or reverse charge, e-invoice is applicable.
Sir, whether e-invoice is applicable for contract advances received?
Again, I would say that in GSTR1, I report my advances in table 11 at a consolidated level. I don't report, I am not providing a supply, it's an advance received. So it is not a tax invoice, and I am only issuing a receipt voucher, e-invoice is not applicable.
When
Simple
invoice is raised at the time of invoice, that invoice. Sir.
Pastor, the simple thumb rule, when you are raising an invoice, then you have to raise a e-invoice. Is as a simple thumb rule. Let's not go to the nitty-gritties of many people that don't know the nitty-gritties. Our ishte bekaradu. Now generate madbeka, generate madbeka. Ashte heli sir nange. Rule regulations alla Gella Christopher ಅವರು ನೋಡ್ಕೋತಾರೆ. ನಮ್ಮ ಮಾಡ್ಬೇಕಾ ಮಾಡಬಾರದು ಅಷ್ಟೇ ನಾವು.
Okay.
Am I right?
Correct, sir.
Just I am reading what the questions I received, sir.
It's okay. Let us make it more simpler.
Yes, sir.
So it will get conveyed to them very clearly.
Sir, if GTA opts for forward charge, that is at 12%, then e-invoice is applicable or not?
Yes.
Applicable. Yes. If B2B bill number 103 and B2C number 104, after that another B2B bill number will be 105. So how to manage on e-invoice portal about difference between e-invoice generated or missing?
Yeah. E-invoice portal is not going to give you invoice numbers. Your invoice number will continue. On your invoice number, e-invoice portal is giving you an acknowledgement. So your 103 will be under e-invoice 104 was B2C. You don't even report in your GSTR1. 105 will be again an e-invoice. Even today, whether e-invoice is not there also, in your GSTR1, you don't have a series of invoices that are getting issued. So there is no change in the business or no change in the process.
Sir, whether e-invoice is mandatory for export service providers?
Yes, sir. It is mandatory.
Yes. Sir, can we amend the invoice, e-invoice?
Answer is no.
No, you can cancel, you can never amend it. Okay, sir. Can we generate e-invoice for past period? Is portal allow for past period e-invoice generation?
Yeah, so portal permits because of various nitty-gritties. Currently the portal permits. Now portal permission doesn't mean that you can eternally keep doing a backdated invoice. As of now, there is a portal permits, but at one point it will put a hard stop that the backdated invoices cannot be generated.
To add to that, now portal permits even 1 year old invoice generation for the e-invoices, whichever you are having. But shortly, government is going to bring the rule saying that if the e-invoice is to be generated, it should be generated within 4 days or 5 days or a week's time. It will not give an indefinite open period kind of a thing what is existing. Now, currently government has provided this mechanism to people saying that learning curve is there, people awareness is required, they have kept it open. But definitely this is going to come. The best practice always would be, if I am preparing the invoice now, immediately it is better to do that practice, generate e-invoice, take it further. Anyway, it is a sale, my kind of a thing. Future I have to follow. I can start right now rather than waiting for the government to tell me to do that.
I have as a customer, I'm not as an officer, I'll ask as a taxpayer or a consultant. One small question I think others can answer about it. If I generate the e-invoice now for the past period, past tax period, will I get an input tax credit benefit if the audit takes place?
Obviously, 16.4 will bar them. If beyond that 16.4.
Day in, day out, he speaks across the forums and let them speak, because the portal allows to generate. Will the law enables to give a ITC credit?
Jatin sir, would you like to take? Or?
Go ahead.
Yeah, please, Gilla.
So this is my view. So firstly, the input tax credit is governed under Rule 36. And I am a recipient. As a recipient, I should have a document, may not be in compliance with all the procedures of Rule 46 contents being there or not, but at least I should know who is the supplier, who is the recipient, whether tax amount is there or not. Coupled with 16.2 AA is there, so there should be an entry in 2B. Entry in 2B would come in if the supplier.
I want a very clear, one simple answer. Yes, if I generate the e-invoice now for the past record, will the ITC is eligible or not? Let not go to the section 16 and subsection.
If it is there in 2B, if it is there in your GSTR 2B, then you will get a credit. If it is not there in 2B, then you will not get a credit.
Yeah, please, Jatin.
See, it is not possible to encourage taxpayers to retrospectively generate e-invoices, because this information will be indelible on the portal, and audit officers, enforcement officers, when they come in subsequently, it is evident that this data entry was done backdated. So please be very careful. At your own risk, please delay in invoicing. But if you want to be diligent to make sure credit is flowing to your customers, this backdating is to be discouraged completely. There's no question of any credit being allowed merely because someone backdated their invoice to meet the requirements. The recipient will forego the credit.
Yeah, just to add to Jatin, I can see if bundle of litigations is going to happen once the 2021 audit starts. I think the council and the department has to take a call at that particular time. That's what my view.
Absolutely.
Sir, then can we able to amend B2C to B2B?
No. That
No,
is
it is
there is
not
no
possible.
provision in the GST.
Not you cannot change anything once it is generated.
Yes, there's no.
And we have to upload the invoice in serially. If we are not able to upload the invoice in serially, then what happens?
No, it's
Not
not
necessarily.
the question of uploading serially.
Okay.
See, as per the law, you have to maintain the records very serially. Simple. Some are B2B, some are B2C. Wherever there is a B2B, you have to have an e-invoice if you are mandated to generate the e-invoice, generate e-invoice. That's all. It's very simple to understand. And
Okay,
if you are
the
recorded as B2C and tomorrow it has to be done as B2B, I know how difficulties already people are facing it, and that should not be encouraged. So simple, basically, as a consultant, you people or anybody should advise to the taxpayers or the concerned very clearly. They have to maintain two nail system. What is B2B transaction? What is B2C transaction? Tomorrow you can't amend B2C to B2B, B2B to B2C. Please understand that. Those days are gone. Unless until in case of B2B, at least you can go with a credit note, debit note, something, you can do some corrections, you can do it. But in B2C, I don't think you can do any such corrections and get back to a B2B transactions. Am I right, Jatin?
Right, sir. Right. Right.
What happened if the invoice had not had a typo error and we got to the knowledge after 24 hours how to change the invoice? What are the steps to change the invoice? Which amount will reflect in 2B of purchaser? So they have forgotten to cancel it within 24 hours. Then what we have to do? Just they have asked this one, sir.
So basically, if we are not able to cancel it before that, whatever reason, goods might have returned or some kind of mechanism might have happened. If we are not able to cancel within 24 hours, the GSTN is provided a mechanism to cancel or delete that entry in the GSTR1. And you maintain your required information with your system so that tomorrow an audit happens, you will be able to justify that. Currently, there is no mechanism to, because even accounting practice say that once invoice is generated, you cannot amend it. You have to cancel and go for the next invoice preparation. So that cancelled invoice you are maintaining. Similarly, yes, you are also in the computer system, it will be maintained, you will follow the same process here also.
Sir, so it means once the e-invoice is generated, if it is reflected in your GSTR1, you delete from there so that it will not go to 2A or 2B.
Yes, you are right.
Yes.
You are right.
Yes, sir. Correct.
In accounting also, it will not be there. In
yes,
your
sir.
accounting also.
It has to be done at the early. Remember that. It has to be done at the early.
Sir, good evening. My name is Anil. Sir, my question is regarding e-invoicing. When we generate a e-invoicing, we can cancel it within 24 hours. I want to know if we cancel the e-invoice directly, do we need to create a credit note even when the e-invoice is cancelled? Sir, please brief what is the correct way to cancel the e-invoice?
No, correct way to cancel the invoice is a simple thing. If you have within 24 hours, you know that you have made a mistake in the invoice, value invoice, value wise or GST invoice or supplier, recipient, whatever the kind of a thing. You notice you want to cancel, make it a correct one. You are very well, you can go there and cancel and prepare the one more invoice and send it across to that. Second, typical error, whatever errors are there also you can do. Second reason is you're supposed to send the material, but you decided, the party say that no, I don't want a material, you have prepared the invoice. Within 24 hours, he has told you. So straight away you can cancel it. Nobody can question about that because within 24 it has happened. After that, there are two mechanisms available. If typical errors are there, you can go there and cancel in GSTR1. Wherever the goods are returned after 24 hours, you get back. You can use a credit note and reverse the invoice one, whatever e-invoice you have generated. That mechanism also you can follow because that is as per the rule only you are following the process.
Venugopal sir, you want to get your mark? Do you want to answer?
No. So whatever, but sir, it said
okay. It is showing that Gella would like to answer it live. Okay, no problem, sir. What if any person want to generate e-invoice who are falling below 10 crores?
Well, now, very valid question. As you know, from October 1st onwards, 10 crore above has been started by the Government of India compulsorily for all the taxpayer above 10 crore. In fact, from August 16th onwards, we have enabled them also in the production side. Now the people 10 crore above can start generating on the portal. Maybe October 1st onwards, we are going to enable the 5 crore above also in September. It is optional for them. Government may announce maybe October or November, December or January, they may say that 5 crore above has to start generating. But we are making it optionally available on the portal for the taxpayer to generate. Just to add to all of the people who are participating and hearing now, we are now more than 3.2 lakh taxpayers are generating invoices in last 20 months. And they are generating invoice and giving a credit to 90 lakh taxpayers. You can just see that 3.2 lakh taxpayers are generating invoice and they are giving a credit to 90 lakh taxpayer. When we increase this to 10 crore above, that will go to 105 lakh taxpayers. Almost it will cover major chunk of the taxpayer who are going to get the credit automatically. That is the area we are going, and I'm happy to inform that already in last 20 months, the portal was able to generate a 200 crore invoices. I would like to thank all the taxpayer, all the practitioners who have supported wholeheartedly to make it a big success. In fact, we can say that it is one of the best system running throughout the world. Other people are just trying to follow it now. Recently, you have seen in German, they want to start in 2020-24. France is going to start 2023. So people are planning for the future, but already in India, because of the support of the taxpayer and the tax practitioners, we are able to achieve 50% of our goal. Maybe in another 6 months, we'll be able to reach 80% of the whatever the B2B invoices are required to be covered in the coming days.
Whether e-invoice will verify in tolls while transporting the goods?
No, only e-way bill will be verified.
See, the e-way bill is nothing but an extension of an e-invoice. See, what is the e-way bill and e-invoice a difference? The e-way bill, it has a part B, that's a vehicle number. That's it. As good as your e-invoice is also is verified.
Sir, first issue invoice and how many days I can generate e-invoice in the portal?
Now, as we already told, it is indefinitely available now. But as already all the your participant experts have told, it is better to generate immediately rather than waiting for a long period. Tomorrow you will have a lot of audit questions and kind of things will happen. Instead of struggling later, better to practice right now with a properly.
And one thing, see, as a tax practitioners association and the practitioners and the consultants, it's your duty. Even in fact, we are spreading this information to each and every client and the taxpayers. And who are the taxpayers under your the practitioners, better to propagate this information so that the compliance happens so fast.
Sir, please clarify. Dealer carried e-way bill for line sale. He also sells to B2B in while line sale is carried, but he was unable to generate the e-invoice. So can we generate it later or only we have to create in that time? What is the time limit he is?
As we already told you, for line sale e-way bill, there is a separate mechanism there. You can generate a e-way bill.
They have taken the stock in the vehicle and they are selling it on the lines.
Correct, I agree. So when they go to the business premises, then they may not have a connectivity, they may not have a mechanism, mobile kind of application is available. They can, in presence of the premises only, they can generate if possible. If it is not possible, they can issue the manual invoice there, whatever their practice they are following. When they come back to their office, they can generate e-invoice. Then afterwards, they can send them through the WhatsApp mode or whatever the mechanism. So absolutely the system is going, government is going to maybe giving around 7 days time, because some service sectors are asking that don't enforce that invoice to be generated immediately. So we have some technical problem. We generally once in a month, we prepare the invoices for the service sector, maybe a manpower sector. We generate next month, 5th of the month or so. So give us some 7 days time. Government is thinking of providing 7 to 8 days time for the delayed generation of the e-invoice.
I think even the law enables for the service people, the service sector to have an invoice within 30 days. That's another reason I think they may be asking for it. Isn't it, Jatin?
And missed e-invoice.
Mr. Pansarthi, sir. Mr. Pansarthi, sir.
Sir.
B.T. Manohar here.
Sir, Manoj, sir.
Really, sir.
Sir, from the viewpoint of taxpayers fraternity, if e-invoice is not given for line sales at the time of supply, provision under the law doesn't speak that it can be given afterwards. So in such an event, generation of e-invoice after the supply taking about 1 or 2 days time because we come back from line sale without any clarification from the government, won't it affect the trader?
No, certainly it affects. I will not say no. The question is that the clarification with respect to means to say once the transaction is completed by e-way bill madidare, natra they'll come back and they'll generate e-invoice. Now the portal enables to generate e-invoices, it's happening. If it would have not enabled and the transactions to be captured that particular day, it should have been done it. But my suggestion is always is to see to that the invoice to be generated and the line sale has to be taken place, because the practical difficulties you are trying to tell that okay, ishtu goods now kottidivi matte now invoice generate martivi anta. There are some challenges in that. I will not say in that, and as an association certainly can flag for the clarifications.
Sir.
But till then, it is very clear that e-invoice has to be generated.
Yeah.
For line sales.
Yes.
With the available technology.
Yes.
That is to be made very clear to taxpayers.
Yeah, it's true.
Thank you.
Can missed e-invoice of previous year, that is financial year, be generated in current financial year?
Yes, currently there is a provision. Now you can generate.
Okay. E-invoice for non-GST goods, whether mandatory or not?
So now,
No, non-GST e-invoice is not required.
Yes, sir. Why all laws are implemented between the financial year? Why not wait for the new financial year?
I think that question should be asked for the policy makers and the policy implementers, I think. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Sir, why dealer is dealing only B2C? Is there any e-invoice compulsory? My dealer is dealing only B2C. B2C is not mandatory, no, sir?
As of now, for a B2C transaction, there is no e-invoicing. But why they are asking that question? There is a confusion in the minds of the many taxpayers. There was a QR code to be brought in place for the purposes of B2C transaction. For some reasons, it has not been implemented as of now. That's the question they have, that the mindset they have. But my suggestion as an officer or whatever it is, as a good Samaritan, be prepared. One day may come, you also have to raise a QR code, have that particular concept in your mind, and be ready to get into that particular fold. I always is better.
Sir, there are number of questions or more. Can we have a little demo and can we have the question later?
No, you can generalize the questions and then we can take it up. So we can.
Yes, sir. That's what actually we will take it up. So just can we take a demo? Sir.
The questions, whatever they would have posed, would be very general and it will be the same. Already the questions would have already answered.
Yes.
What I mean to say that if there are any questions to be answered which is away from this particular discussions, let us keep it apart. And some can be clubbed and can be asked. We can ask and we can close it so that another 10 minutes I also have to go for another meeting.
Sir, can we generate e-invoice for high seas sales?
Not required.
Not required. Okay. Place of generating. No, not answered. So we have to continue bill series number. Or can we break the series in any financial year wise? can we make any our own numbering? They are asking.
The questions are been asking from the time you were the same questions.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Says very clearly it should be serially numbered.
Yes,
okay,
sir.
Let us get into the e-invoicing. Let us ask
yes,
only
sir.
that particular component.
Okay. Sir.
Any other questions to be asked? You can,
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I will take it only the relevant. Okay, sir. Sir, debit note and credit note will go through e-invoice only. Is it?
Yes. Yes.
Yes. Okay.
Only,
okay.
No. Once again, our matte confusion beda. Only the debit note, credit note pertain to those people who have been mandated to generate e-invoice. Only such people that debit and credit note should come to the IRP. But no, those who are not into this particular fold, there's no need to have a credit debit note under the e-invoicing portal.
Okay, sir. Yeah, sir, whether SCZ is applicable for e-invoice?
No.
No. Okay.
As of now, applicability of e-invoice is only for B2B. B2B, exports, credit notes, and debit notes for those particular people who are mandated. All others are not mandated.
Sir, GTA is exempted from generation of e-invoice as of now. Should GTA required to generate e-invoice in case of forward charges from now?
That already been answered.
Yes. Okay. After once adopting e-invoice based on earlier year turnover, but in the last year turnover has come down, whether it is mandatory?
Yes.
Yes. While goods movement, whether hard copy of e-invoice is to be required?
Not required.
Not required. So my client is enough. Okay. Advances, it has been answered. GSTN Sumoto cancelled. Sir, GSTN of a dealer under Sumoto is cancelled. So how he has to generate the e-invoice to the cancelled GSTN now?
See, they ask, once the registration is cancelled, he can't generate the e-invoice. He has to see to that the Sumoto cancellation is activated. Okay. So what about line sales and a buyer delivery person, some good generated original buyer? Okay. If the buyer denied to take the delivery with some reason, okay, sir, then what? And the same goods are sent to the place. What is the remedy? Yes, if the goods are rejected, by the buyer, when once everything has been gone and it is in front of the shop, supplier has to raise another e-way bill to return the goods back. Otherwise, you will get caught on the road. Okay, he has to generate the e-way bill, he has to take it back, and the next due compliance of raising credit note or cancellation he has to do within that time. One of my client turnover exceeds 5 crores in the financial year 21-22. E-invoicing is applicable from 1/4/23. No, it's not required. Okay. Is there any invoice mandatory for once generated e-invoice? E-way bill. Whether e-way bill is mandatorily to be generated for e-invoice?
If the value is more than 50,000, yes.
Yes. Okay. See,
okay. They should not get confused with e-invoice is totally different, e-way bill is totally different. If their aggregate turnover is more than 10 crore and above from 1/10/2022, they have to generate, means previous years. E-invoice madlebeku. For the value, or as Butser said, if the value is more than 50,000 consignment value, the mandatory e-way bill has to be generated. So Krishna has asked one question that will be answered in the next session. So that we will take it up while showing the demo of it. How many cancelled invoice? Okay, the APMC market. Sir, what about APMC marketing commission agents? Whether they are exempt from e-invoice? Taxpayers, as long as they register taxpayers, their aggregate turnover is more than 20 crore as of now. Later it will be 10 crore. Previous years, they have to generate e-invoices. Sir, whether, okay, sir, whether in the current financial, sir, sorry, please. See, for the current financial years, if they're crossing turnover of 20 crores now, for example, so they also have to generate, because the reason is that, as I said, 10 crore will come into the picture from 1/10/2022. So previous financial years, whatever the turnover process, then they'll come into the fold. That's what I mean to say. So let them get prepared to generate.
Sir, if the running current financial year crosses 10 crores, whether it is applicable from that day for e-invoice?
No.
Next
The
year.
clarity, the question is that preceding financial years, that's what one should remember.
Last year.
Preceding financial years, not the present. For example, when I've been to Bellary, recently the guy asked me, sir, my turnover is more than 18 crores. Now I want to generate. At that time, there was no possibility because 20 crores was the mandate. Now, because 10 crores is going to come from 1/10/2022, so now we can generate for all the records. That's what I mean to say. For the current financial years, if he is going to have a turnover only 5 crores, he need not generate e-invoices. If he has 10 crores previous years, then he'll come into the field.
Okay. This question we will take it up because it is not related directly, because government department makes some corrections. How we have to make it, that we will answer later, sir. They are not related here. It is unlawful to supply goods by issuing manual invoice and later generate e-invoice, because we do not expect small illiterate traders to generate e-invoice at the time of supply. Subrata Rai is putting this question.
There's no question of literacy here. Already will not get into the literacy or illiteracy. As the law is mandated, if the taxpayers are turnover is less than the more than the 20 crores in the preceding financial years, they have to generate e-invoices. Okay.
Okay.
Picture here.
Okay, sir. Okay. Whether generated future date. Whether e-invoice can be generated from future date?
No.
No. In a later way, let him ask him to pay the GST in earlier rates for the future. Then we can generate. We'll give a provision for generator of e-invoice because we want money. If people want to come and generate.
I am a government contractor. If we will shift material from one site to another, it will be necessary to generate e-way bill.
Yes.
It is related to e-way bill. E-way bill, it is mandatory. They have to. So, because not as a resultant. Sir, Sharma sir, you want to say something? Okay. Sir, export of garment at the time of customs examination, 1 or 2 pieces shortfall when value reduces to 500 rupees, 1000 rupees from the invoice. Value of the total invoice is 5 lakhs less, rupees 1000. Sir. Sir, if there is any mistake in physical and other thing valuation, how we have to adjust, they are asking. It is a practical question that we will come across later, sir. Whether e-invoice is mandatory for work contract service, sir, whether it is mandatory for work contract service, they are asking for any service or goods. If they crosses the threshold limit, e-invoice is must.
Tell me, Jatin,
There is no subcategorization. As long as it is attracting the requirements of e-invoice, whether works contract or trader, manufacturer, has to comply with e-invoice requirement. Very clear.
Sir, how government contractors has to do it?
All contractors, unlike traders, don't have short window of time. Contractors have sufficient time. Bills are work progress is approved. Invoice generation is decided. So e-invoice has to be generated based on the values that are certified in the M-book.
Major issue is internet connectivity. What happens where goods have to be supplied, but due to internet connectivity, e-invoice could not be generated. What stand I have to take?
Let me wait and let the connectivity comes to generate e-invoice.
Sir, Jatin sir.
Sir, actually, if you see, Rule 55 is very clear. Goods can be sent to the customer on a delivery challan with e-way bill, and then invoice can be issued, because there is no urgency in that sense. As long as within that month the transactions are reported. See, so many questions are revolving around these aspects, and the software, Mr. Bhatt sir is there. It is such a, Venugopal's explanation very clearly shows that it's such a simple, user-friendly software. People use such complicated apps and YouTubes and unnecessary things also they have learned without going for tuition. But with so much of sessions, if we are saying that we don't know how to operate e-invoice and e-waybill portal, it is quite alarming. We should be in our own interest, in the interest of our business. If we learn this software, there's so much of tools are available, it will help our own business. So we are responsible for taking the initiative to learn this.
These are the 4 or 5 questions are there.
Sir, if there is a e-waybill,
connectivity illa. These are the questions, the routine questions we are listening from past.
Definitely. Sir, if there is a e-waybill, if e-waybill is generated automatically, e-invoice can also be generated, no?
Yes, my dear friend.
Mr.
Certainly.
Sir.
Sir.
Manohar sir.
Yes. I represent FKCCI, which has a huge gamut of taxpayers. Sir, we have conducted awareness programs, and in my understanding of it, since implementation of this e-invoice, a minimal reference has come to my committee. Very minimal references.
Yeah.
Because in the initial stages, as far as the law is concerned, and the technological aspects are concerned, it being taken care by the department and NIC, especially our PV Bhatt sir, and the representations what we made to GST Council, a very minimal references has come, and it is running very smooth. The only thing is, my trade and industry is to understand, and they have understood also, but time and again, anything cannot be at one stroke, because this is a reform which continues. So, as far as adaptability and understanding on e-invoice is concerned, kindly know from the experts, the department, and because you are all the practitioners who are supportive to trade and industry, see that it is maintained on time without facing any penal provisions.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, what about allowing to generate e-invoice after more than 48 hours? What about the section 31 compliance? What is the, how it can be coped up? Sir, Jatin sir.
I think we could able to cover many of the questions and
yes sir. Now yes, we will now.
I think
yes,
let's get into the next session. What actually
yes sir, definitely sir.
Really thanks for giving an opportunity and represent under the department, and I could able to clarify what best I could able to know. And thanks for the panelists and my good friend PV Bhatt and Jatin and Gella and Manohar and Sridhar Pasi. Thank you, Manohar. Thank you.
I thank you, the association, for giving us opportunity. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Mr. Parsati, sir. Before Sri BV Bhatt and Dr. BVM leaves our forum, we have to be very thankful to these two.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir. Mr. PV Bhatt.
Yeah.
Mr. PV Bhatt is such a official in the NIC who takes it and he diagnoses it and he digests in such a way for the interest of our taxpayers. Dr. BVM is a great friend of all taxpayers, not only in Karnataka, to most of the states in Karnataka. And we can straight away rely on these two people for easy implementation and adaptability of e-invoice.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir, I have been given this vote of thanks opportunity at that time, but in between Murli sir and Bhatt sir is leaving a little early. I don't know. It has been a pleasure to have Murli sir and Sri BV Bhatt sir. So, as you all know, our Murli sir is friendly to a dealer and big brother to all our tax practitioners. So that is what he has been there since inception of VAT as well as the GST. That was pleasure. And PV Bhatt sir is a walking encyclopedia for the e-invoicing or EU pass. Since EU pass, he was there, and he's been.
So this is the problem of the technology when traveling, and we should be very clear. And also it enables and disables. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you.
Yeah, yes. Thank
Yeah,
you,
so
sir. Thank you
so
very much.
just a quick one. While Sri PV Bhatt is called as the walking encyclopedia, I think
Yeah.
Dr. Murali Krishna is the machine gun of GST.
Said Arvind. Thank you, Arvind. Thank you. Thank you. In fact, Arvind coined this particular term, and if I can remember, 12th May 2014 itself, we coined that particular.
I think.
Thank you, Arvind. Thank you.
With a little experience, he would be one government officer who would have spent more time on the stage with businessmen rather than in his AC office.
Sir, always Murali Krishna sir on that day told, earlier we are regulators, now we are facilitators, I say.
Yeah,
Thank you, sir.
Rightly said.
Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Thank you, both
Thank
of you,
you,
sir.
thank-
Thank you.
Thank you, Jatin. Thank you, Gela.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Last point about Murali Krishna sir is, like many people give information, but the power of Murali sir's information is that calls for immediate action from the businesses. So that is what I have understood. That is the power in which, that is the simplicity in which he takes things on. So thank you,
It's
sir.
your
Thanks
own
for
term, sir. Power of simplicity.
yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir.
Sir, Gela, sir,
We'll continue with.
we can take that,
Tally.
sir, we can
Yeah.
straight away, we can take the Primo, sir.
Yes, sir.
And little bit of Jatin sir's.
Yes,
expert knowledge.
yes, definitely, sir. Sir, you please complete our TallyPrime, sir, and we will conclude, sir.
Yeah. So anything, Jatin sir, you would like to add before I take up the tally?
Sir, Jatin, sir.
No, please go ahead. Please go ahead. This is important.
Thank you. All right. So let me share my screen.
Just a small question before something comes on Tally. My request is, sir, it is not to be seen as one tally session. Like genuinely for people who are there as businessmen and as users of GST, till now whatever we have learnt is learning swimming theoretically in a book. So we have understood many things about swimming, a lot of clarification. What if now is that we are actually, CA Venugopal Galasa is actually putting us into water. So this is where we actually need to swim. And hence sandbox registration and something which the whole discussion Tally makes in 2-3 minutes. That's the power of technology. So I'm just replacing the word technology with Tally, but otherwise whatever we've been speaking till now, that gets into action in exact water for swimming through the next whatever 10-15 minutes of session CA Venugopal Galasa is going to take. Correct, sir?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so this is super crucial because most of the questions could have been available in Google, but the next 15-20 minutes is not that easily available on any online media. And my request for the participant is to really make great of this session, because this is what they're going to put it into life going forward, or else it remains to be theory for them. Over to sir.
Yeah. So like Arvind sir mentioned, it is very crucial that you need to know this, because once after the session, we know theory. Now the customers are going to come back, sir, I have to do e-invoice. How do I do e-invoice? Yeah. So these are the questions that would come up.
ಸುಚಿತ್ರದವ್ರು ಫೋನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದಾರ.
Okay. Yeah. So there are two things which I'm going to talk: sandbox and live. Now, why did I say sandbox? Sandbox is a test bed. I have put the screenshots of the whole process because later you might want to have a quick information how you will do. Here is the URL where you will actually go on to the sandbox and log in there. As a first time user, you will go to the sandbox login and click on register here. Please note, if you have an e-waybill login credentials, e-invoice portal will automatically work for you. E-invoice live portal will automatically work for you. For sandbox, you have to register. Sandbox is a test bed. It is created to test before how the transactions go live. That has been created. So now I'm going to show you how this would work for Tally. So the objective is, whether it is Tally or any software, the process is this. So sandbox is, you can see here in the sandbox, it is already written as, it is an e-invoice API testing system. So basically you want to ensure Even before you go to the live site, how will it look like? Because you want to do a test entry, see yourself satisfied, then you want to take it to live, right? So you don't want to make mistakes. So that is where they have created a sandbox. All that you have to do is get onto the portal, click on register here. So you register. When you are registering, click registration as taxpayer. The only thing that you should be careful here is once you register, you will get a OTP. You will be getting a OTP. You will have to validate that OTP. And once you have done the validation of OTP, then you will create an account. Once you establish that this is you, the portal will enable you to create an account automatically once you are validated. You will be writing your GST number. Please select the GSP and enter the tally name here. Enter the tally as the company here. And you can give your client ID username. So all these things you can give yourself, absolutely no issue. If you are using tally as your GSP, so every GSP has been given a specific ID. Every GSP has been given a specific ID. If tally is your GSP, so there is a client ID with the name of tally. You will be using a tally client ID. In fact, the tally client ID is, I'm giving it in the chat. If someone wants to try live along with me, you can try it. So this is the tally client ID, which everyone has to use it. Now, once you have set the tally client ID and once you have used it, then your account gets created. Then your accounts get created. Then you can use live on TallyPrime. How do I do? I have to enable it on the TallyPrime. In your TallyPrime, F11 features, more features, click on the more features, show more, click on enable sandbox, it will happen. So let me show you live now. So let's go to e-invoice portal. So this is the portal where this is sandbox. You can just go to, this is live. E-invoice 1.gst.gov.in is live portal. Then the e-invoice sandbox is a test bed. Once you are happy with the configuration, you just need to create an account in the live portal. Today, I'm just going to show you how you will create in the sandbox. So a first time user, you will click on register here. And the moment you enter, enter a number, automatically it will be showing the trade name and everything. Like right now, it is not enabled for me. So for your clients, you will be entering it. Once this is done, you have to enter a valid registration mobile number and the email ID. Once you validate it, you will get an OTP and you will enter the OTP. After you are entering the OTP, create your username and password, right? Once this username and password is created, so is when you will be doing it in TallyPrime. So let me do it from the beginning. So let me open the TallyPrime. All right. Okay. So in the gateway of Tally, press F11. In gateway of Tally, press F11. You have more details. Click on more details. GST number, enter your GST details and enter is e-invoice applicable to you. Set it as yes. is e-invoice applicable to you? Set it as yes. Once this is done, you have on the top of it, you have show more. Ideally, you will be seeing, you will not be seeing this. So if you are not seeing it, you can click on show more and show inactive. So once you show inactive, you can say enable sandbox. You set it as enable sandbox as yes. Once you have set, kind of you have done with all the configurations. Once the configurations are done, generating e-invoice is like again a child's play. So let's do a normal sales entry that we do. Let me just create a normal sales entry that I do. I'm just selecting a ledger and I'm doing some item cell. I'm selecting a pen, 25 quantities, and setting my, and critical thing, if your tax amount is automatically calculated the moment you select the ledger, if the tax amount is automatically calculated, it indicates that everything is right. Yeah. So I'll say invoice testing. Please remember, on 15th August, 13,125 is the transaction I'm entering. So it is asking, do you want to generate an e-invoice? I will say yes. So mandatory information for e-invoice is not specified, especially this is the place of supply. You can go on the top of your screen. You can see there is something called exchange. On the top of your screen, you can see something called exchange. This will help you to exchange the data from one application to other application. So one of it is, you can see e-invoice. Send the data for e-invoice. Now I will send the data for e-invoice. Let me just set the date. So I am selecting on the e-invoice. It says there is information required for e-invoice is not provided. When I click on e-invoice, there's one information. That's what the error we got. If you see it, you can say the place is not specified. That's what I mentioned. I did not enter any place. So it is going to ask me, where is your place? Bill to, I'm saying Bangalore, ship to Bangalore. You can write the actual name. So once the information is provided, oh sorry, pin code is missing, 560001. So now information required for e-invoice, everything has been provided. So you can see that error message now changed from the information missing. It is saying as for IRN generation. So there is, for IRN generation, there is one invoice. So you can directly on the right down, you can see this button called send. The moment I hit the send button as yes, for the first time, you have to enter the username password. When I say for the first time, every time when you open the tally. So if you have entered today, so whole of today, it will be working as long as you have kept your tally session open. So I will be now entering the username password. Let me select the username password. So I have entered my username and my password, and I will say generate the e-invoice. Now you can see this, like as I said, is a fraction of second. I just pressed enter. It says e-invoice generated 1. I say okay, and sorry, exchange send for e-invoice. If you see your e-invoice, you have the second e-invoice, which is 13,125 that we have generated now. The e-invoice generated. How do you know the e-invoice is generated? You print the invoice, the current invoice. Let me print the invoice and let's look at this invoice. Now, if you see this invoice, you can see the e-invoice has been generated. You are seeing the QR code. You are seeing today, 24th August. Please note, there were many people who are asking the question. the invoice dated is 15th August, but the acknowledgement date is 24th August. So I was able to generate a backdated invoice. The intention is please do backdated invoices. No, that's not the intention. Intention is for some technical reason you are unable to issue the invoice. As you know, Rule 48 sub Rule 5 says that if you are issuing any document other than e-invoice, it will not be treated as a valid invoice. So all that one has to do is just set this configuration. Now, even more important, this QR code I have generated using a sandbox. Once you are satisfied that you have done all the configurations correctly, once you are satisfied that all the configurations are correct, then you don't have to continue with the sandbox, change your credentials. So what do is go back here, and where the sandbox was enabled, disable the sandbox. The moment you disable the sandbox, automatically the routing will not happen to this portal, routing will happen to this portal. It is e-invoice 1, the live system, it will route in, and once you log in, you will be able to see the invoices in the Tally application, and you will also be able to see the invoices in the e-invoice system live. Both will be able to see. Just that in this e-invoice system, which is live, you will be able to see the invoices only for a period of 24 hours. After this, the data gets purged. So this is how one has to do an e-invoice configuration on the TallyPrime. Right now, I have done for the sandbox because I can do any number of data entry. You might have with goods, without goods, services, different HSN, rate of tax. So you might have, okay, I have composite supply, I have mixed supply. Do all sorts of testing, all sorts of data entry. All that you will have is an error. Let's say, let me just let's show you one error. And okay, so this is the HSN 8603900. Now let me change it to the next item. Yeah, so I'm just randomly entering 1111. This is a wrong HSN, all right? So now let's actually do one more sales entry. I'll put it as so I'm now selecting pencil. This is a wrong HSN, changing that date to 16th and 12 quantity. So CGST and SGST. Bill to place is Bangalore, ship to place is Bangalore. All right. Look at this carefully. Now I am accepting the invoice here. I am saying accept invoice. Yes. So it is asking, do you want to generate e-invoice? Yes. Now the mandatory information, the address I should basically, if you set it in the pin code in the party master, you don't need to do it. Since I have not set it, it is asking for the mandatory information. The information required, the pin code, buyer pin code was not set. So 5600. Okay. Now let us send this invoice for 33,600. Voucher number 3. I am sending one invoice for generating. Do you want to generate? Yes. Now you can see this document has been rejected by the e-invoice system. Why is it rejected? Let's go to invoice register and see rejected by e-invoice system. You can look at it, HSN code 11111. That is what I have entered, which is invalid HSN code. So like this, you will have to encounter various things. So why you will have to use Okay, how do I know the right HSN code? Let's say I want to know the right HSN code. Where do I get it? In your e-invoice system, you can go for search the master code. You have help the master codes. You can set the HSN code. Let's say the chapter 11 and you look at all the HSNs that are there. So though many HSNs are there, I'm just picking randomly one HSN number. Let me go back to the tally and now enter this as the HSN. I have entered the correct HSN. Now I am sending. So now this voucher was rejected. Do you still want to generate? I am saying yes. Now you can see this e-invoice has been generated successfully. So I go back. So it is coming into IRN generated. Even the third invoice, 16th August e-invoice got generated. So the system is built very robustly, and you could see that it was like a fraction of seconds. It's like I press yes, so data comes back, and data is updated back into the system. The flow I have anyhow put it into the presentation, and you can also watch the recording whenever, however it is available, and feel free to ask any questions if you have. Otherwise, once you enable the e-invoice, everything will be taken care of. So with this, we have come to the end of the presentation, and I should thank the chairman and other office bearers of ICTPI for taking this information session on the e-invoice, which is going to come live. And I special thanks to Jatin sir for being here, and a great support to the tax community and budding chartered accountants like us on the GST. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Sir, we have left many questions in the box. Shall we take it up, sir?
Yes, sir.
Sir, Jatin sir, shall we take it up, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Sir. Manohar, sir? Sir, one question from Krishna. Turnover is about 10 crore using Tally ERP 9. First time to raise e-invoice. Confusion with respect to, they have mentioned HTTPS, what sir? E-invoice 1gst.gov.in or e-invoice AS API sandbox nic.in. Which one I need to use?
Okay, I think I have now explained. So for you to test, you will use e-invoice sandbox, and if your tally is successfully, you are able to generate e-invoices through the sandbox, then just disable the sandbox. You don't need to do anything. You only have to enter username, password in your tally. That's all.
Okay, sir. How many cancelled e-invoice is allowed in a month or in a year?
How many ever you want to cancel, you can cancel. There is no limit.
Okay. So, okay, sir. Okay. And the running current year. So there is again a question. In the running current year, whether my 10 crore crosses, whether I am liable for e-invoice?
From next year.
Okay, next year only. We are the contractors serving with the government department. They make many corrections in the invoice amount after submitting our invoice. How I have to generate a e-invoice, credit note and GSTR1? Kindly guide me, an anonymous attendee.
Sir, works contractors cannot raise an invoice until the deductions and approvals are finalized. Works contractors need to keep the entire work done not certified as work in progress or inventory. Only after all the deductions are finalized, work done is certified, then invoice has to be raised. Please bear in mind, if in a hurry we raise an invoice and deductions are made, the deductions will not be entertained through credit note, because there cannot be a sales return in the case of services. So therefore, please raise an invoice after it is approved the work done is approved. Now, at the time of giving the documents for approval, what document should be raised? Please raise a document called Statement of Work for Certification. So statement of work for certification. It is not a invoice. It is only statement containing details of work done for certification. If 10 crores work is done, prepare the statement, give all the details. If 9.5 crores is certified, all the deductions finalized, at that time, please raise a tax invoice or e-invoice if applicable for the approved value.
Okay, sir. What about non-GST goods of about 10 crores?
No e-invoice, sir.
No invoice.
No GST, no.
Okay, sir. E-invoice is mandatory for more than 5 crores now? No.
No.
If this is my from Tumkur, after reached material, if they reject our goods, then how I can cancel? If they reject, how I can cancel? The same question already answered. Whether you can take it back with a credit note, because the invoice has been already raised in his name, you can raise a credit note and take it back. So that would be proper, I think, sir.
Correct, sir. That's absolutely.
Sir, and this has been already answered. Contractor, how to done, it has been already told. If we want, sir, if we have sent some material through delivery challan, with the e-way bill, what is the time limit of making e-invoice? And if any one of delivery challan material become rejected before making the e-invoice, kindly advise me this scenario.
Sir, the e-way bill can be generated independent of e-invoice. However, e-invoice gives you a facility, like in a demo, I've entered the details. If I enter my vehicle number, e-way bill will also get generated by the portal automatically. For some reasons where you are unable to do e-invoice is when we are saying that the e-invoice can be done later. But it appears to be that the people wants to get a more affirmative answer saying that I do later, do later. So if I have to say, do e-invoice only then and move the goods.
Okay. Sir, we have client builder, we usually receive the advance receipt and pay the GST, but end of the March will reverse the advance as sales, which is unregistered person, whether e-invoice is applicable.
Sir, B2C e-invoice is not applicable.
Not applicable. Yes, sir. In the year 2021, sale turnover is 11 crores. That is above businesses distribution in Indian LPG gas to customer, that is consumers during the year. Some reasonable portion to B2B. Each invoice value will be less than 20,000 and above, and recipient is around 5 to 10 kilometers. Is it necessary to generate e-invoice for the supply of B2B supply?
Sir, even if rupee 1 B2B supply, e-invoice is applicable.
Yes, irrespective of its threshold, it is mandatory. Yes, sir. If it is B2B, you have to. Is e-invoice required for delivery challan?
No.
Also, one invoice is generated against this delivery challan. Should that be reported under the e-invoice?
When
no.
you generate an e-invoice is e-invoice.
E-invoice is only a e-invoice. It cannot be a e-delivery note.
Correct.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Sir, we need to update our old data of this financial year in this portal.
I didn't understand the question.
We need to update our old data. I think they have asked about Tally.
Sir, e-invoice is working only in TallyPrime.
Prime.
If you are using ERP9, older version of Tally, e-invoice will not work in Tally ERP9.
You have to.
Other utilities.
Yes, sir. Whether registered work contractor, tax payer crossing 20 crores and above, but all the invoices B2C. Please let me know whether e-invoice is applicable, because central government GST office, they told to generate e-invoice to B2C transactions also. We have to educate them first, then only we can educate anybody. So as long as they are B2C, there is no necessity of raising a e-invoice on any unregistered taxpayer.
Correct.
In case of company in IBC, is IRP is liable to generate e-invoice?
Yes, sir. Wherever it is applicable, because IRP is also mandated. He is conducting the business on behalf of the company. It is mandated.
Yes, sir. HSN code 6-digit is mandatory above 5 crores turnover from 1421. But in Tally, some of HSN code not working e-way bill at the time of generating e-way bill. If any solution in this regard in Tally or if not followed by the rules, then what will happen in future? Please advise.
Sir, simple, go to the master codes which I have shown. So I have done with an erroneous HSN, it will give you error. Your Tally HSN code should be available on the portal. Now, if you say on the portal there is a valid HSN code is missing, it is only a grievance, we cannot do anything.
I am a receiver of goods. E-invoice is generated for the previous month, but the goods are received in this month. When should I avail the input tax?
Sir, 16 condition, whenever you receive the goods in that month in which you can avail the input tax credit.
So, yes, sir. Please send PPT. Okay, okay. Can you share the okay, okay. So thanks for the webinar. Okay. Why is it offline exchange in Tally? Sir.
Sir, it is like you select the e-invoice because there is a way that which you can do a data entry. You have maker checker concept. Someone will verify that. And then you want to do at the time of data saving a voucher, you can generate an e-invoice or do the transactions offline and do e-invoice later, permitted.
Sir, can we generate same e-invoice in taxable goods and non-taxable goods? For example, 25 kg rice and 50 kg rice.
Okay, sir, if you are making a supply to a B2C, you can have taxable and an exempted in the same invoice. So tax invoice come bill of supply. But if you are making a supply to a B2B, it is mandatory. You got to segregate taxable and raise the separate invoice, exempted separate invoice. You cannot merge taxable and exempted for a B2B person.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And one bill is entered. One bill is entered all the taxes, example 0 and 5% and 12%. All taxable possible for one bill, same taxpayer.
Theoretically should not be done, but GST and portal, IRP portal will permit you, even if you have exempt and the bill of supply and tax invoice in the same document, e-invoice gets generated.
Okay. So, but they should not be done in the B2B and B2C. You have to make two clusters.
Correct.
Sir, I have turnover of 23 crores in the last financial year. Should I raise e-invoice from the same now? For the same now? Yes. From 18.7 it is mandatory. So of 110.22 it is mandatory.
Correct.
Sir, can you explain the sandbox login once more?
No, so the sandbox login is only a test bed. Basically, you go to the sandbox URL. I have pasted it in the chat once again for the use of everyone. You make a registration in the sandbox URL. The registration is a two-step process. First, you authenticate yourself that you are the genuine taxpayer. You get an OTP on your mobile. Once you enter, then you can create a username password and you choose who is the service provider through which you are doing the integration. So if you is a Tally, you enter the Tally and there's a client ID, you paste that client ID. So it will automatically recognize all the transactions through that.
Sir, for one company with the same PAN and since GST is PAN based, one unit is exempt turnover about 10 crore, 10 crore, and another unit is registered for GST turnover which is less than 5 crore. Should e-invoice be generated?
Yes, e-invoice is applicable to both the units, like assuming 7 crore, 7 crore. I'm taking another situation. Both the units you have to do e-invoice.
Yes. So PAN based 20 crores or 10 crores is applicable.
Yeah, Sridhar sir, I have got a small suggestion here. This is Arvind here.
Sir.
My request is, especially on the sandbox thing, I was unable to talk then. See, what we will be doing is, we have recorded this session. We'll be sharing it to all the participants. They can go through it again so that the sandbox 2 minutes will become easier to them. And more importantly, to me, this seems to be a wonderful, wonderful session, both from the professionals and the bureaucrats. And we should encourage all the participants to share it among their groups to ensure that this quality knowledge is revised for people who already know and given it for the first time people who don't know. But to me, sir, I've been attending this session quite a number of times, but this is one of the wonderful, comprehensive, simple session. I think people participating here should take the responsibility of sharing it to many people, and they can go through the recording again, sir. This is my request to you, Sridhar, sir.
Yeah, definitely, sir. We will that recorded version we will share across the country. Not an issue, sir.
And they should share it with others, because
definitely
this is definitely a need of the hour when we are coming with 10 crores and 5 crores very soon, sir.
Yes, sir.
Probably
Yes, sir.
One of its kind session in my mind.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Okay, sir. That we will do. Definitely, sir. Sir, how can upload IFF B2B JSON through TallyPrime directly for every month? Now this facility is not available in TallyPrime. Any updates available?
Sir, I definitely am not qualified to say how to the future of it. I think TallyPrime is putting a lot of efforts in many automation. Maybe direct integration of GSTR1 might come soon, like how e-invoice is happening.
Okay. Certain e-invoices are not auto-populated in GSTR1.
Yeah. So earlier, when the first version, there were a lot of failures happened in data porting from IRP to GSTR1, substantially corrected. But still, there are some edge cases which are not going through because the logic for GSTN portal and the NIC portal is different. In case if it is not there, you have to manually do a data entry. GSTN has given an advisory to cross-check it. They have given an Excel to download before you file GSTR1. You may say how stupid it is that I have to do this, all this, and you're putting me a burden. We are eventually moving to a smoother system. And yes, the initial people have to take all the brunt. But now if you see, 99.99% all the data goes to GSTR1. I don't see any hitch in most of my clients.
Sir, sale invoice mention HSN code, but GSTR1 written not mention HSN code. Any problem in future from GST office?
So table 12 of GSTR1, it is mandatory. You have to mention the HSN code. If you actually see the original proposed GSTR1, the one which is not there here, HSN was supposed to be entered at the invoice level. Each one we were supposed to enter HSN, but through representation we said it would be cumbersome. We will take it out and we will put consolidate in one go. But now we are again saying that, okay, I will not even enter there. Will there be any problem? In my view, that's a simpler form that they have asked, just consolidate your HSN. We have to comply with the law.
Sir, at the time of e-invoice generation, whether e-way bill will be automatically generated or after e-invoice is generated, go to generate e-way bill first or to generate e-way bill first?
E-invoice is first, e-way bill is later. You can do e-way bill along with the e-invoice, or you want to procure the goods, assemble and send it maybe 4 days, 5 days later. For a 15 days period, the part A will be valid. So you can generate the e-way bill up until that point.
Can you differentiate between API and the sandbox?
Sir, API is a route. So basically it is an application program data interchange method. Like if we see today, whatever we have done in the demo, I was sitting in the Tally system, just pressed a button. In the back end, data synced and came back. That we call it as API. Where it synced? Did it sync to a trial portal, which is sandbox, or did it sync to a live portal? That's the only difference. Sandbox and a live API is automatic. In a normal way, we generate the JSON, go to the portal, log in, upload the JSON, download. That is the manual mode.
If we generate e-invoice directly using e-invoice portal with e-waybill login credentials, then e-invoice details can be updated by manual option in Tally. Then only IRN and acknowledgement number updated per single invoice only. Why is not bulk updation option is available in Tally, sir?
A good suggestion. Maybe the Tally team can work on where they can upload in a bulk data entry. Yeah, they can take it up.
Very shortly, they will come up with it. Definitely, sir. Sir, retail tractor showroom sell the tractors to unregistered person. Whether e-waybill is compulsory for motor vehicle. A motor vehicle is moving. How to carry that? What actually they are wondered to ask this question. Sir, Jatin sir.
Tractor sold to an unregistered person. B2C e-waybill, e-invoices is not required.
No, he is asking about e-waybill.
Oh, e-waybill. Okay, sorry, I have wrongly understood. E-waybill. So we have Jatin sir, correct me if I'm wrong. So we have one circular giving an exemption if the what you are selling itself is a vehicle that is being taken away. So the e-waybill will not be applicable for the vessels, vehicles which are being sold as such. Because you are not carrying anything. That itself is an item that has been sold and it is going. So you don't need an e-waybill.
Right. Because the vehicle that is such, let us say a tractor is purchased by the dealer, the registration is done in the customer's name, X showroom. Then the tractor will be driven by the customer as his own vehicle. No other goods are being transported. But if we are transporting a tiller or any other parts, then e-waybill will definitely be required. E-invoice will not be required, like Venu rightly said, because it is B2C.
A motorized vehicle is not carried by another motorized manner. Sir, since from financial year 1920, we are eligible for e-invoice, but we are not generated still now. Whether we want to generate it now from 1920 or can we ignore that?
In my view, generation doesn't give you any harm. Tomorrow when an officer is going to ask you, have you complied? At least you can say that I have complied. Have you complied within the time? May not be, but at least better late than never.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. In automobile sector, so many goods, types of goods are there. In GSTR1, how to consolidate the HSN code and mention it. Top 5 or 10 you can mention.
Sir, why your software will give you, like if you're using Tally or any software, it will give you a summary of what are the items that you have sold. It is mandatory as per section 35, the items that you are selling, you need to know. So if you say, I don't know what are the HSNs I have sold, how can you justify the rate of tax that you have adopted? I don't think it is the right statement, someone saying that I don't know what is the HSN I'm selling.
Sir, thank you. You have cleared my doubt. The compliment has come. Sir, purchase of taxable goods from URD agriculturist. Such goods are not related to RCM. Such goods, sales affected as taxable supply. How to classify the inventory in the Tally? You identify.
Okay. So in the Tally, when you're configuring, if you remember, I've just said GST yes and went to the various configuration. There itself, you can say GST is not applicable. So there is no question of any liability. The taxation engine itself will not get generated or attached to those transactions.
Yes, sir. Almost all the questions have been answered, sir. No question has been left out. Everything has been answered. Only one question. My client turnover is below 10 crore. Still he want to generate. Can he generate? He is asking. You have already told no. Once again, they have sent this question, sir.
No.
Okay. And one question.
No, sir.
OnePlus Service Center, Ballari purchased 2 lakhs from Uttar Pradesh. Bluetooth display mobile parts and return the goods for repair purpose. We have not generated the original bill, just only e-way bill generated for reference purpose. What will happen? For repair purpose, they have taken. What will happen? They are asking, sir. You can suggest whatever you want, sir. Sir.
See, when you have sent it for repair purpose, it is not a supply. So therefore, you should not raise an invoice as you have correctly not done. After repair, it should have come back to you along with the invoice for repair charges. Please confirm whether that has come back to you along with the repair charges invoice.
Excellent questions and excellent answers. A compliment is also received, sir. So we have answered everything, sir. What is in the chat box?
Right.
Okay. Oh, in the chat box. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We have completed everything, sir. Sir, now to our Bhishma Pitamaha, sir.
Sir, you are on mute, sir.
Mr. Sridhar, sir?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, you are audible, sir.
Very nice. Good evening to all of you. For being called Pitamaha, I should do justice to the honor which has been bestowed on me. The Institute of Chartered Tax Practitioners India is doing its best service for the, not only for the fraternity, even for the taxpayer fraternity. Compliments to Mr. Sridhar and his team. Today, the session being for a new concept, for a new type of dealers for 10 crores and above with effect from 1st October 2022. It's a befitting workshop or a seminar like for all the participants. Mr. Venu Gopal Yella, a senior chartered accountant, and I'm happy that he's in my GST committee of FKCCI. He has authored a book on e-invoice under GST for publications from FKCCI. It is available in our website, fkcci.org, for reference only, for reference. If you feel so, you can visit, and all the questions the participants has raised now, most of it are covered in that booklet, e-invoice under GST. So I should compliment Mr. Gella for clarifying many of the doubts, along with Mr. Christopher. Jatin Christopher is a faculty even in our most of the conferences and workshops conducted by ICTPI and almost FPI also. This is a new subject for a taxpayer because I represent a gamut of taxpayers, not less than say about 9 lakh taxpayers in this state. Overhearing that it may be even for 5 crores. What I request the institute, because Sridhar is a part of my GST committee, and the very objective of FKCCI and the professional forums is to see that there is a timely compliance by taxpayers to avoid litigations and penalties. Not to be very optimistic in this regard, tax reform is not a one-day job, but our duty representing trade, commerce and industry, we should see that they are enlightened and given awareness for conducting their day-to-day business. Thank you, Mr. Sridhar, for this opportunity, and I place on record that FKCCI have invited to me as a representative to share my views in panel, and I am very clear that in time to come, e-invoice will be almost on par with tax invoice. Thank you and God bless you all.
Thank you, sir. Sir, Jatila, iddaru crystal clear. Sir.
Yes, sir. GST, like we've seen today, is making great progress in automation, and resisting automation has only left us behind. Embracing automation will take us forward, and I think this is a wonderful initiative by ICTPI to disseminate knowledge, and Tally's contribution we have seen from our student days to support trade in moving from manual records to automation, and their services are invaluable because looking after the interests of taxpayers has been their primary focus, and their contribution has been right at the forefront of technological changes. I see the extent to which Venugopal has been able to bridge from a tax professional's way of looking at things and understanding how technology should be embraced. I think his contribution is very invaluable, and we keep going back to him to get all our technology-related concerns addressed. Thank ICTPI for inviting me and Tally for hosting this program. I hope this evening's discussions have contributed to members in the course of their work. Thank you, sir.
We are going to circulate a 2-page article sent by Jatin Christopher, sir, to all the members who have attended today's webinar, along with the recorded version of the session of Sri Venugopal Gella also to all.
We request, in public, we request CA Jatin Christopher sir's permission to upload the document on our portal also, sir. Tally's portal.
Yes,
Go ahead.
yes, sir.
Great, great.
Sir, Bhattad sir?
Yes, sir.
Bhattad sir?
Yes, sir.
Please,
Yes, sir.
now it is your time.
Yeah. I think
Summation.
the summation, they have to key in the panel thing. They have disconnected the photos. I mean, my video, they have disconnected, it seems, because of disconnection.
No, you can, sir. No. It is there. It is live. You can on your video.
Okay.
You can switch on your video. You are moving, Bhattad, huh?
Yeah. Yes, sir. Sir, it's a great pleasure to say a word of thanks for our key speaker, Sri C.A. Venugopal Gella, sir. His version of digital era is really more useful, and the knowledge, whatever he has shared, quoting the sections, quoting examples, and giving all sample things, it was very useful. Thank you, Venugopal sir. Thank you for a good educative session. And as usual, Jatin sir is really, you can say, gun for the practitioners. He only gives strength, and he also support, or he also fill the strength in the tax practitioners to fight or to argue or to not to accept other things in the departmental way. So that is really good. So thank you, Jatin sir. You are always there with us, and both of you have been traveled all over Karnataka. Your names also is very familiar. Everyone is feeling you both are our big brothers. So thank you.
Upcoming
Jatin sir.
celebrities.
Yeah,
Upcoming celebrities.
Yeah. Very true, very true. Thank you, Jatin sir. And as usual, our additional commissioner, commercial tax department, e-governance, Murali Krishna sir, which we have addressed, is for him a vote of thanks. And it was very nice. He is very hardcore person, giving answers, everything, immediate, instant solutions, instead of going as a section-wise or rule-wise. It is only a practical thing he explains, make everybody to understand that. Thank you, Murali Krishna sir. Along with him, Mr. P.V. Bhatt sir is technically very strong man, and he himself has bought this EU pass and e-invoice and e-way bills. More of it is e-way bill. E-way bill was something in the initial stage of GST was not so familiar, and it was a very tough time for a dealer to to generate a e-way bill, wherein NIC has given its contribution to generate the e-way bill, which is very useful for all over India. So thank you, Bhatt sir, for your good support, not only for Karnataka, it is for all over for the India itself. Thank you, sir. And coming to our Pitamaha sir, is always with us. He's always with us. He is always supporting for us, and his inspiration, small taxpayers and tax practitioners and young people also very keen to talk to him and meet him. And he's been last 20 years in the tax cell of our Federation of Chamber of Commerce. Maybe in the Silver Jubilee also is very nearing to our Manohar sir. Sir, am I right that you have been there last 20 years?
This is my 30th year I have completed.
Oh, I wish you should be there for a Silver Jubilee, Golden Jubilee years. You have to be there. Thank you, sir. Thank you for your...
ನಿಮ್ಮ ಜೊತೆನೇ ಇರ್ತೀವಿ.
Yes, sir. Thank you very much, sir. And none other than our tax practitioners, participants who were there. It was almost 400 people have joined.
Yes.
And the only thing is, we have made them to send through a chat box. Otherwise, people have got their own style of asking questions. But of course, the questions were whatever they have asked, I believe it is being cleared by our eminent guests. Both of them is very close to the department, not only the department, even for the tax practitioners also. Hope you all have got the solutions for it. Thank you for participating in a good strength. Thank you all the practitioners. And finally, the National President of ICTPI and National Chairman of ICTPI, Mr. Y.N. Sharma and Sridhar Parsarthi sir, for giving me this opportunity to say and to submit the summation of this vote of thanks as well as their today's program. I am grateful. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Over to Sharma sir, please. Praveen sir. Sridhar sir.
Yes, sir. You are audible.
Yeah. Sir, thank you for giving me this opportunity, and please take over the chair, sir.
Mr.
Thank you,
Sridhar,
sir. Sir, yes, sir.
Mr. Sridhar,
Sir,
all along,
sir.
for any workshop or a conference of on taxation, especially the GST, the Tally solutions, the Tally software company, usually we have Mr. Our Arvind, sir.
Yeah,
He is
sorry.
so supportive.
Sir, very sorry that I did not even mention Arvind sir's support for today's program. It was fantastic. Arvind sir is always there with us. Last 25 years, as Jitin sir was saying, Tally from their student age, Tally is being used as this thing. So even Arvind sir also is there in Tally, I think, last 20 years. It's thank you, Arvind sir, for not.
Thanks a lot. And
sorry for not.
no, you don't have to be. First of all, there is no
It was-
mention required for Tally, but
Nine,
very
nine, nine,
grateful
nine,
to
nine, nine.
know, sir. And normally we tend to miss names of people who are very close to heart, sir. So I tend to
Yeah.
miss wife's name whenever I support someone. That way, it's okay.
Mr.
Okay,
Bhattad,
sir. Thank you. Yes,
Mr.
sir.
Bhattad,
Yes, sir.
you have considered me as Pitamaha of your tax practitioners fraternity. So from our family of tax practitioners and ICTPI,
Sir.
we are really grateful to all the speakers today because they have given their best and enriching our knowledge so that it will be disseminated to taxpayers on time, and both the compliance and revenue will be certainly as being thought for. Great day to all of you.
Special thanks to Komal Lahoti. Komal Lahoti has supported like anything, sir. So we have to remember the support of Komal Lahoti also here.
For Tally.
In fact, I just want to say one last thing and then leave it. The moment we had a 10 crore plus thing, Sridhar sir was very clear that he came to us and said, we need to do something for the accountants fraternity, let us do something like this. So his commitment towards the accountants of India has been amazing, and this is one symptom. He is also planned to do it in different languages, more sessions, and anything saying on the efforts put by Sridhar sir for the accountants of this country will be less. So thank you, sir, and definitely thanks to Komal for a relentless commitment in getting this show done.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, one and all. Jatin sir, BT Manohar sir, Arvind sir, Gella sir, and Bhattad sir, and one and all the participants. Thank you. Stay safe, stay home. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.